So last month, the president hyped up an incredible deal with Foxconn. Now, you guys might remember Foxconn as the company that was famous back in 2012 for their suicide nets. Now, that was when they were operating, obviously, in China. Now, this deal, of course, hopefully wouldn't involve any suicide nets, as there will be a factory built in Wisconsin. Now, talking about it to Scott Walker, Trump had said, "I got him set up with an incredible company called Foxconn." Now, I would really argue against calling them incredible. Nonetheless, he said, "Foxconn came to Wisconsin with the most incredible plan. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. We toured it, and we had a ribbon cutting a few months ago, and I handed it over to Scott. There's no plant like it anywhere in the United States. One of the most incredible things I've ever seen. One of the most incredible things." Can he say incredible anymore? I mean, seriously? But, okay, that aside, is it actually incredible? I mean, look, you say, hey, man, they're bringing a factory over here. They're going to build one in Wisconsin. It's going to mean jobs, right? A lot of jobs for Wisconsinites. So, is that true? Well, according to Dan Kaufman, writing for The New Yorker, no. For one, this is going to cost Wisconsin quite a bit of money. The deal ultimately will cost taxpayers more than $4.5 billion in subsidies. So that is coming from the taxpayer to the company itself. Wisconsin is paying Wisconsin taxpayers $4.5 billion in subsidies. Just cash, right? Now, the thing is, Wisconsin manufacturing companies, they don't pay taxes at all. So this is just handouts and giveaways. Now, in fact, Kaufman wrote, Foxconn, which generated $158 billion in revenue last year, will receive much of this subsidy in direct cash payments from taxpayers. That is the largest subsidy given to a foreign corporation in U.S. history. That is a lot of money. Now, look, you might think, yeah, okay, so it's an investment, guys, but don't worry, it's going to create a lot of jobs. In fact, it's supposed to create 13,000 jobs, right? So, okay, maybe, yeah, it's a lot of money up front, but we're going to get jobs and economic growth, right? Is that going to happen? Well, look, it's projected that if Wisconsinites do see a return on that investment, it'll be about around the year 2042, according to an analysis from the nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau. So that's a long time to see an investment or to see any sort of return on that investment. But okay, so maybe that's not a smart investment, but jobs. Let's think about the jobs, right? Well, again, as I mentioned, 13,000 new middle-class manufacturing jobs, right? So did that happen? Well, the company, according to Kaufman, recently changed the factory that it plans to build, downsizing to a highly automated plant that will only require 3,000 employees. Okay, well, look, 3,000 employees from 13. So that's 10,000 less than they originally promised, but they could at least be blue-collar jobs, right? Nope. Apparently, all the assembly work will be done by robots. Now, have I talked about automation before? Yeah. Automation is eventually what all factories are going to go to. It is an inevitable part of the cycle, right? It is an inevitable part of our economy. So we've got to figure out what we want to do with our economy before automation takes over everything. So do we want to have an economy that actually works for working people or the robot owners, the robot masters at this point? That is the question, and I fear the answer, right? But anyway, Terry Gao, Foxconn's chairman, has said that he plans to replace 80% of Foxconn's global workforce with Foxbots in the next 5 to 10 years. So of those 3,000 people that are going to be working in this plant, About 90% of them will be knowledge workers, such as engineers, programmers, and designers. These are not blue-collar, middle-class jobs. Now, it's 3,000 high-technology jobs, which is great for those people in the field. But at a cost of $4.5 billion in subsidies, I'm not entirely sure it's worth it. Now, the company, of course, says, oh, no, we're going to hire the 13,000 workers. Don't you worry about that liberal propaganda that you're hearing from the Wall Street Journal, who, by the way, also noted earlier in a story that the people that they will be bringing to work in that factory as knowledge workers might be imported from China. Oh, what happened to American jobs? What happened to being incredible? Oh, it's incredible, all right. It's incredible how much of a boondoggle this is going to be. Now, here's the thing. They've already made this promise before in Brazil, India, and Pennsylvania. And did it actually happen? Did they get what was sold? What they were promised? Nope. They did not. So not only that, but there will be numerous environmental issues as well relating to this. Apparently Scott Pruitt helped out Foxconn before he had resigned in disgrace by overruling the objections of his staff to grant most of southeastern Wisconsin an exemption from limits on smog pollution. So now they can pollute, and they can even use eminent domain. Now, the company has been granted special court privileges by the state legislature, like the ability to make numerous appeals of unfavorable rulings in a single case. And one of those, of course, is eminent domain. Now, what they would do is force people to sell at a price determined by the village. Now, they've been able to do so by decreeing the 2,800-acre area around the plant as blighted. Now, that is a designation, of course, reserved to property that is detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. But the board, thanks to Foxconn and Scott Pruitt, has extended that to include property that impairs or arrests the sound growth of the community. So they can take your land at a what they call a fair market price, right, or fair village price, even if you don't want to sell it. And they're doing this to give it to a foreign corporation. Well then, there you go. So, look, the result, billions and billions of dollars wasted, taken away from places that it could be used, schools, roads, infrastructure infrastructure projects, and programs to help the poor and the needy, all in order to give a foreign corporation billions of dollars and the ability to have them do whatever the hell they want. Absolute boondoggle. Now, what's interesting is what they could have done with this money. Now, according to calculations by two former University of Wisconsin Business School professors, they said if Foxconn's taxpayer subsidies were given to random entrepreneurs, the money could generate more than 90,000 jobs, as opposed to the 3,000 jobs, some of which, or most of which, could be filled by importing Chinese people. You want to talk about a con job? This is another con job brought to you by King Con, President Trump, and the Republicans. If you think that they're on your side, they are not. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.